so it may not be continuous through the whole thing.
Okay, James Garvin in Washington. Don't you feel like you should be here? Either here in Tucson, there you are all the way over there in Washington.
Oh, exactly. Well, I was fortunate enough to be at the landings of Spirit and Opportunity and of course, the great encounter with Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. But it's just feeling the passion and the tension as these great events are kicked off. I mean, the turn to enter movement, the signal acquisition by Odyssey, things are happening according to the script that we intended. This is really good. These are the moments that have been practiced and waited for. So the next big moment is that first big dip into the atmosphere, and then a few minutes later the peak heating, and we'll be in a position then where there will not be communication for a while we're in this sort of plasma cloud. And then out the other end we'll start to get the signals back, and then, if all goes well, in less than 10 minutes we'll be down on Mars, back home.
Okay, well, why don't we just listen in for a few moments to what's going on in the control room, and if there's anything notable, we will certainly report.
8K data in 10 seconds.
Alright, I'll fix it. Let's just let this finish. My YouTube recording. I'm recording it on YouTube, right?
So it's important, and it gives us an idea of exactly where
Tell
it
me
is
what,
through the transition.
You always do this, but you don't have a point. So, look at me. Look at me for a second.
James Garvin, can you hear what's going on in the control room?
Yes, I can, and they're getting ready for the first contact with the top of the atmosphere.
I'm trying to extradite you. It's hurting me, not you.
Modulation, as you just heard. They've also changed the rates, and then we'll go through a couple of minutes of rising in the temperature up to those very high temperatures, 1500 degrees centigrade, like the surface of the sun. And you can see in the control
I got like 7 minutes and 45 seconds.
Confirmation that these events are happening. So let's stay tuned. The next big one will be as we come out the other end of that peak heating.
Well, not to be sort of too lighthearted about this, but somebody was passing around a yellow bowl there, and there is some story about peanuts at these events. James, what role do the peanuts play?
Well, we've had some good landings, and there's been I guess it's maybe superstition or good fortune of passing around the good energy that's in the peanuts that also were passed around during the landings of Spirit and Opportunity a couple of years ago, actually 4 years ago now. So, you know how superstitions are built in sporting events and everything. Well, we have our own in Mars exploration, so that's what you're seeing now. I saw Peter Smith there, our principal investigator, sharing the wealth with some of the leaders of our agency, Mike Griffin and Ed Weiler.
Yeah, I think I see the peanut bowl right there. We're going to go to Alan Nursall in Tucson. Alan, let's give us an update there.
3, 2, 1.
For the first time in about the past 5 minutes, we actually got a reaction out of folks. There was a brief rumble to the audience. It's like watching a golf tournament here because everybody is mesmerized by the screen. Nobody's saying anything. They're just watching the data come in, watching the reactions of people in the control room. There are about 500 people behind me whose eyes are glued to the screen because they realize that what's going on before them represents the culmination of 10 years of their work. And they are absolutely mesmerized. I don't want to interrupt them. I don't want to distract them. They're just absolutely glued. It's like the one giant sort of goosebump through the whole room. And all so far has been good, which is what people need to, which is what is really adding to the atmosphere here.
Right.
There's a tremendous amount of excitement.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alan. Alan, we're still in this period of trying to reacquire the signal.
So right now, it's getting warm.
Signal by Odyssey.
And what we're confirming is that there's still signal that's coming through, and it's getting warm. It's going to go through.
Almost finished. It's got 5 minutes.
It's hard to. It really is hard to put yourself.
And you see it on that choice as well.
I don't want to interrupt them there, but to be so intimately involved in this mission and then to be at this moment where signals, everything has looked good up till now, everything's looked like clockwork.
In the Odyssey signal, but we still have Odyssey data. Okay.
And they're talking about, again, data coming from Odyssey, which is in orbit around Mars, and it's getting data from Phoenix as it's going down.
The signal coming from Phoenix is not that strong, but
At this same point in time, Phoenix was
Odyssey is
normally
much
from
closer.
peak heating.
And so Phoenix is actually talking to Odyssey to get maximum data from Odyssey, when Odyssey is acting as a repeater back home.
So we're still early in the phase. We're not at the point where parachute would be deployed or anything like that.
No, but things are going to go very quickly, very soon. So we're almost there.
James Garvin, are you still able to sit down, or are you? Do you have the urge to jump up and walk around?
I certainly do. In fact, if I were on Mars, I'd be waiting for that.
Entry point. We still have a signal by Odyssey, standing by for reacquisition.
They're doing really well, as you can hear. And we're waiting for those rapid.
Switch to phase 2K in 45 seconds.
So what was that? Another rate on Odyssey, and we're really getting ready for those quick rat-tat-tat events that are kind of like before any big event. You know, I'm reminded of right before a hockey game, we're getting ready for dropping of a puck. We're right about there, and then the game begins, and pretty soon we're into that last few minutes of what we call terminal entry, descent, and landing, when the parachute, the back shell comes off, we jettison the heat shield, acquire the surface of radar, and then we come in and we fire those motors to bring us back to the surface model.
In 10 seconds.
Key moment may be happening in 10 seconds, so why don't we just sit and wait for that?
It's another one of those switches in data rates.
There you go.
I'm afraid to speak.
Odyssey switch to phase 2K detected. We are Odyssey locked up on Phoenix carrier. Standing by for expected parachute deployment, and Phoenix switch to phase 2K.
It's live.
At this point in time, Phoenix will have normally deployed its parachute, standing by for telemetry acquisition.
So what's that?
So we're still moving down as planned through the steps to go through, and I think the next step will soon be the parachute deployment.
Whoever designed this sequence of events didn't take human psychology and emotion into account, I can tell you.
There we go. It looks like we have parachute deployment.
Phoenix switch to phase 2K detected.
Yeah.
All right.
We have the
We
chute.
have data lockup. Parachute deployment trigger detected. Heat shield trigger detected.
Excellent.
Ground relative velocity
Heat shield has
90
been
meters per
jettisoned.
second.
Okay.
James Garvin, that's better. That's good news.
80 meters per second.
Yeah, this is great. Things are happening, and in fact, the chute's up. It comes on at Mach 1.7, so we're into that final stage. The next couple minutes, and we're home, back on Mars. So watch the body liners. Peter Smith is hugging Fook Lee, who's our Mars program director at JPL. There's Ed Sedeby from Lockheed Martin. We're watching the guys do their stuff, and I'm kind of jumping up on my toes.
Well, I don't blame you. It's incredibly exciting, because it's one thing to see.
Point time standing by for radar RF on and output conversion.
It's one thing to see animations of how it's
Radar
supposed to
switch to
look.
output mode.
It's another thing to hear it's actually happening. Actually, they seem pretty calm now.
Standing by for output conversion.
So how long is the parachute out for?
It's the parachute's only going to be out for a couple of minutes.
So we must be bumping up against that time, and then it gets dumped. Right?
Yeah, it's about a total of 3 minutes that the parachute's going to be slowing down the spacecraft.
Spacecraft is still going
Landmark deployment trigger detected.
quickly. I think when the parachute deploys,
Ground
it's
velocity 60 meters per second.
1.5
Standing by for
or
output
1.7
conversion.
times speed of sound. So it's still really moving.
Absolutely.
And that, of course, is Peter Smith, the man whose mission this is. I think it's basic.
Poured a lot of his energy into this.
James, what's happening at this very moment?
We've got radar acquisition, and we're waiting for that moment. That will give us the final minute of descent, and then the pulse descent motors.
Will normally reach output conversion. Please stand by for confirmation via telemetry.
Seriously.
Standing by at that point, they will start.
I'm serious.
They should be about a kilometer above the ground and beginning their free fall after they cut the chute.
Hey.
Altitude 2,000 meters. Altitude conversion detected. Altitude 1,800 meters.
Okay.
1,700 meters.